are dealing with accessible issues. And maybe you can incorporate like it was accessible, like maybe Southern California rapid accessible or something like that. But if you have the word, you will be having another major impact that remind people that you are accessible. That you're making an attempt to welcome people.
To be inclusive.
Yeah, inclusive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's my main input for you.
I appreciate that. It's an area we can do better. I mean, I want you to see the new cars because I want to get your opinion on that very thing, accessibility. Do you feel that it's accessible? You know, we want to hear your input on these things. You know, are our stations accessible? No, not all of them. You know, you don't feel that way. You wouldn't say this. You know, there's so many things we can do better. And to your point, you know, if you just, again, whitewash, you know, everyone will say, oh, no. You don't get to do that, or it's not sincere. And I think more than anything, and being a communicator for a lot of years and being on the railroad, I mean, can't fool you guys. Can't fool you guys. You know, and we don't want to, and that's the point, and that's why I'm proud to be here with you and to hear your feedback because it's important, and really value, you know, what you have to say. Really value what you have to say. Accountant, CPA, and
I don't know if this has been addressed because I've just got here because it's downstairs in the line, but anyway.
you have to leave.
Yeah.
Go back.
A lot of times I notice a lot of people get very confused between Metro Rail and Metrolink. And I mean, I can't count the number of times where I've heard on the radio, oh, there's a crash on El Segundo on the Metrolink. You know what I mean? Like, I think it doesn't help that every time there's a crash, they don't say Metro Rail, they say Metrolink.
Read my mail.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, I'm not trying to say maybe name change might be in order, but it might be something to consider.
Well, you missed the whole like opening speech. And no, but to your point exactly, which is, you know, that's kind of my world because, you know, being the spokesperson for the last year. And by the way, we have a new media relations manager. Thank goodness. So I'll have some help. But truly, I was telling the story about how I got a call this morning about the gold line.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, you know. I mean, and you have to start the whole education piece and who that is and who we are. And, you know, media changes constantly. You know, there's always new people in the door, and you know, so it's an education thing constantly. So you know, you kind of think, well, maybe will that help? Maybe, maybe not. But you know, at the end of the day, it's about, you know, ridership. It's about revenue, but that customer experience has to be right. You know, we've got to set that bar, and we've got to, you know, maintain that consistency. And if we're going to change something, you know, we've got to do it for the right reasons. And it has to be done, you know, with everybody's consensus. I mean, not consensus, but input. You know what I mean? Everyone has to have their say. And you know, I want to hear this history, and I don't want to change my history, but then I want to hear, you know, link. Somebody else has suggested that too, but I'll be sure to give you the royalty.
It is 4 or 5 letters maximum. It is, after all, the Southern California link. That's what it is.
Yeah, like Gold Coast or something, you know, Express. I would like to see, aside from a name change or what have you, I'd like to see myself 1 or 2 days in a year when you give free rides as much as you want.
You're here.
In terms of bringing people in to see it. And it doesn't have to be a special event like a county fair or something, but at least one line, if not 2 or 3 or all of them.
Just because.
Just, yeah, to have public relations wise.
Awareness.
Would be really, I would be there to, you know, even if it happened to be a weekend or whatever. I'd like to get I think they did the MTA used to, back in the 60s sometime, they reduced the fare down to a dime or a quarter or something like that for several months on end. And people were very enthusiastic. But this is just one time thing.
It was Tom Rubin, marketing director of RTD back in 1980.
Well, that was before my time, but I will take responsibility for the flat fare on ramp. Do you know where the Metrolink and Metrorail and Metrobus came from? Have you ever heard that story about Neil Peterson when he was director of LACTC? That was a very deliberate thing on his part. He wanted everything to be Metro. And he was going to be the transportation czar of Southern California. Then he bet on the wrong person for mayor, but he had his vision, and he was going to be the czar over it all.
You know, that runs into the same problem of the 5-member agencies all competing with LA Metro, and oh my goodness, it's about Metro and LA Metro, and why not what happens to Ventura County and Orange County? Then you have OCTA with OC Metro Link, and you know, if you look at their website, you know, they take, I'll say this with great fear and trepidation, they'll take everything Metrolink does and rebrand it. They throw it in the soup and they come up with their own. And you know, then that brings confusion. So once you cross over into Orange County, you're in a whole new, well hey, I got on the train in LA, I didn't switch trains when I went over the county line. You know, my conductor didn't get off, I didn't get a new one. You know, they didn't change in uniform, same stuff. So that's a confusion. It's a confusion. You know, in fact, they offer different fare rep, you know, media too. Oh, I actually saw a publication. I think this is a frustration for, you know, a communications person. They were offering a discount that we don't offer system-wide. And I thought, wow, that must be really confusing, you know. That would confuse, you know, somebody who's getting on for the first time and having to change buses and this and that. And wait a minute, you know, rail to rail is a whole other world in itself. I mean, that's confusing. You know, we're not going to talk about that because I'll really get some people talking. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about getting people on trains, getting them off their cars, providing an excellent service, and above all, safe. A safe, excellent service.
And cheap.
Yeah, it's one they can afford. And have it make sense, right? Have it make sense.
I imagine Metrolink must engage with satisfied customers in the sense of the endpoints of your riders. They might be all going to a large company in a city at Metrolink stations right there, or entertainment venues, or what have you, where lots of people take the Metrolink in order to, if your Metrolink is serving their needs pretty well in that regard, enlist their assistance in publicizing that fact. And I'll give you an example, giving to this gentleman mentioned the LA County Fair. Metrolink has run a special service to drop you right off at the parking lot at the county fair for many years now. And for the last several years, I've harassed them because on their website, directions, no mention of Metrolink. None, right? They're bringing in lots of people, and they wouldn't do it. And then this year, I don't quite know how this happened, but they actually got it on their website that Metrolink stops right at the county fair, if anybody wants to take that. So I would think that would be a no-brainer for them, but apparently they only tailored to cars prior to this year. That's it. And so that's an example.
I'm getting better. No, you know, it's exciting to see the things that are happening, and I mean, we could keep going, but we probably should kind of look to close this down. But there's a couple things, you know, to talk about the people that have been riding the trains. I mean, we have, what, we have about 20,000 riders and 40,000 trips a day. You've all heard these statistics. We've, you know, dropped about 20%. But those same riders have been riding the trains over 2 years plus. So we're the same folks doing the same thing. We haven't generated a lot of new riders, but we're working on it. Bart's got some stuff to talk about on that maybe soon. Very exciting stuff. You know, we touch probably, our footprint is about 40